Center in Medicine Hat. In high definition, this is Chat News Week in Review.
Charges upgraded. A Brooks man accused in connection with the death of his girlfriend is now facing more serious charges. Gift of life. 2 young women killed in southern Alberta this week will live on through others after donating their organs. Well, welcome to the Chat News Week in Review, and thank you for joining us. Well, candles burned, tears fell, and silent prayers filled the air at a candlelight vigil held this week. The emotional scene was in memory of 19-year-old Tanya Campbell-Lozier. Campbell-Lozier was found severely injured in her Brooks home last week. She died 2 days later. The man accused in her death was her boyfriend. The Medicine Hat Women's Shelter Society organized the vigil to help bring the community together. Spokeswoman Amy Sarson says they're hoping to raise awareness and support for anyone experiencing family violence.
The importance is to not hide it anymore. It's not something that should stay in the home. It's a community issue now, and we need to deal with it as a community rather than just in private homes.
And a memorial show and shine and barbecue is taking place in Brooks on Sunday. It's all in support of Tanya's family. Meanwhile, charges against Campbell-Lozier's boyfriend have been upgraded. 26-year-old Jesse Dick appeared in a Medicine Hat courtroom on Thursday via closed-circuit television. Dick was originally charged with aggravated assault. The decision to upgrade the charge was made after an autopsy was conducted. Dick showed up in court with a noticeable black eye. Sarah Lewins appeared as an agent. She says he intends to apply for a legal aid lawyer. Now, friends of the victim say they're upset Dick was only charged with manslaughter instead of murder.
The Crown updated the charge to manslaughter, and it's been adjourned over to Tuesday, remand by consent to that day, meaning that he still has to run a bail hearing, and in the meantime he needs to retain counsel to represent him on these matters.
I'm angry. I'm extremely angry. You know, it's not justice, and I know for a fact for me myself, if I have to stand outside a courtroom and protest it all the way, I will. It's not right. Her young life was taken away from her, and manslaughter. We need justice.
And Dick's next court appearance is scheduled for this Tuesday, March the 1st. Well, the flag at Medicine Hat College was lowered to half-mast following another tragic death. 18-year-old student Megan Condor passed away early Wednesday morning. Condor was involved in a single vehicle rollover near Hayes on Monday. She was rushed to hospital in Calgary and kept on life support so her organs could be donated. Condor was studying nursing. She also played on the basketball team where she was affectionately known as Magic Megan. The Rattlers say her memory will live on, not only for those who knew her, but also in the lives of strangers. Funeral arrangements are currently being made. And the families of the 2 young women killed in those separate tragedies this week are struggling to cope with their devastating loss. But at a time when most of us would only be able to think about our own grief, the families of both women are putting others first, turning their heartache into hope.
Just a heartfelt thank you. I mean, what can you say? You're turning a momentous wrong into a right.
Terry Sawchuk's lungs were failing and he only had 2 months to live. 5 years ago, an accident that tragically claimed the life of a young person ultimately saved Terry's life. The person killed was an organ donor. And news this week that 18-year-old Megan Condor had been killed in an accident brought up a flood of emotions for Terry.
I heard about this young woman from Vauxhall, and her parents are going to donate, and it's fantastic.
Megan was a first-year nursing student and Rattlers basketball player at Medicine Hat College. Her mom says Megan was always helping other people, and donating her organs was the right thing to do. Megan's uncle is also alive today, thanks to a new heart he received from a young man who'd also been an organ donor. And those that knew Megan say she and her family are an inspiration.
We feel like Megan's not gone, and then we know she isn't because she's given life to 6 other people. I don't know anything more you could do than what she's done.
And in Brooks, friends of 19-year-old Tanya Campbell-Lozier are also finding some comfort knowing she too will live on.
They get that happiness and just that piece of that wonderful girl that nobody is ever going to get back.
And while both families struggle to cope with tragedy, Terry says the girls will be remembered as heroes for giving the ultimate gift.
I can't imagine what they're going through. But to know that they can bring life and help others, that's really good.
Do you have a news tip? Visit our website, chattelevision.ca, and click on Submit a Tip. You can even send pictures and video, and we'll give you the credit. Simply fill out the form and submit. All tips go directly to Chat News. Chat News, connected to you.
As the price of oil remains low, more residual effects are being felt right across our community. According to the Medicine Hat District Food Bank, since things went south last January, they've seen a 500% increase in usage. As Matt Nemeth reports, it's pushing the food bank to the limit, but they're hoping to turn a problem near Suffield into a possible solution.
40,000 pounds. That's the amount of food leaving the food bank now each month, says co-executive director Selena Simmons. And it's starting to put them under a lot of pressure.
We haven't seen a huge decrease in donations at this point, so we're very lucky that way. It's just that the amount of food going out has increased dramatically, so that's where we're seeing the breaking point for us.
The closure of a couple local food banks, along with the impact from low oil, are driving the increase.
Layoffs and those job layoffs that we're seeing families who have been unemployed now for a year, and they've saved, but they're at the end of that saving.
Increasing food bank usage is a scene that's playing out across Alberta. Marzana Gershow with Food Banks Canada says there's been a 23% spike this year throughout the province, and that another challenge they're facing is the rising cost of food.
As food prices increase, it means that the dollars don't stretch as far. And so I think it is a concern that food banks may need to give out less food because they'll have less of it.
Which is exactly what's happening when it comes to meat at the Medicine Hat Food Bank. The high cost has forced them to limit the amount a family can receive every 2 weeks. However, they're hoping to use the elk overpopulation problem near Suffield as a solution to that problem. They're proposing a pilot project that would collect 50 elk starting next January, yielding around 9,000 pounds of meat.
We've met with the MP as well as MLAs to discuss opportunities to use the elk for food banks across Canada even.
The food bank says it's now seeking permission from the Government of Alberta to move forward with the pilot project. They're hoping to hear back soon and get the ball rolling. With a lot of analysts saying that 2016 could be as bad or even worse than 2015 for Alberta, a food bank nearing its breaking point could be put under even more stress. Matt Nemeth, Chat News.
A multi-million-dollar commercial real estate deal with the city of Medicine Hat for 17 acres of land on Strachan Road has fallen through. Last year, the city announced that Brentwood Developments bought the land for $6.8 million. That was in addition to buying the old Walmart building. But Brentwood has now opted out of these 17 acres of land. Jane Zwicker with the city says the developer will still be moving ahead with plans to redevelop the space at the old Walmart.
We're very pleased about that, but what the next steps for Land and Properties will be to do a thorough evaluation on how to proceed in marketing the site in the next couple months.
There are no details on why Brentwood made the decision, but Wicker says the city was notified last week. All right, still to come, an alleged drug dealer with a history of reoffending appears in court this week, looking to be released from jail. We'll have that story right after the break. Welcome back. Bail has been denied for an alleged drug dealer in our city. A bail hearing was held on Tuesday for 43-year-old Wayne Shrubsall. He was charged earlier this month after an alert bust on Sage Road. Shrubsall was out on bail after being arrested back in June on similar charges. His lawyer argued for his release, stressing his client has rights, pointing to the fact Shrubsall's co-accused was let out on bail last week, even though he had 9 previous drug trafficking convictions. The judge says he denied bail because he wasn't convinced Shrubsall would not reoffend. Shrubsal's lawyer says the decision means his client could be in jail for some time.
There was a substantial likelihood that he would commit further offenses that would endanger the public.
If the co-accused doesn't have a lawyer right now, or if he chooses to go to the Court of Queen's Bench with a preliminary inquiry, theoretically Mr. Shrubsal is sitting in custody for that process to play out. And that can be anywhere from 6 months to 18 months probably in Medicine Hat.
And Shrubsal is scheduled to be back in court on March the 10th. Well, long-awaited flood funding announcements were made across the province on Friday, including one right here in Medicine Hat. Infrastructure Minister Brian Mason was in our city to announce $6.5 million in provincial funding. It's being doled out through the Alberta Community Resilience Program. Now, $4 million of that will go towards work that's already been completed on the Lions Park berm. The remaining $2.5 million will be spent on mitigation projects along Industrial Avenue. Mason acknowledged the work already done by the city to protect from future flooding. While Acting Mayor Robert Dumanowski is hopeful there will be more funding announcements like this in the future.
I think Medicine Hat has shown, that it's willing to take the bit in its teeth and provide flood protection for its residents and for its communities, and we're committed to helping the city complete the entire flood mitigation system.
Today's announcement is recognition of their shared desire to protect this community, not just the citizens today, but the citizens of tomorrow. And I'm hoping that additional grants will be brought forward in the future.
Now, the city has pegged flood mitigation costs at $53 million. With Friday's cash injection, the province has footed the bill for just under half of that work. One of Alberta's biggest energy companies announcing this week it's slashing its workforce once again. 100,000 oil-related industry jobs have been lost across Canada. And Tuesday afternoon, Finance Minister delivering the news that Alberta's financial situation is much worse than originally thought. A double shot of bad news for Albertans. On the day, energy giant Encana announcing it's cutting 20% of its entire workforce, the finance minister announcing the projected deficit for 2015-2016 is now a record $6.3 billion. During his third quarter update, Joe Ceci says this economic downturn is a once-in-a-generation challenge.
I will not downplay to Albertans the challenges that we face. Our economy is expected to recover, but difficult times continue to lie ahead for the remainder of 2016.
Ceci says with oil hovering around the $30 mark, the province will bring in $660 million less than was forecasted in the fall. But the government has also cut back in projected spending by $463 million. All told, the deficit is expected to be $197 million higher than originally anticipated. Oil and gas investment in the province could drop by 20%, much higher than the 4.2% predicted in last October's budget. And by next year, the deficit is projected to hit $10.4 billion, nearly double what was previously forecasted. The dismal economic forecast by the finance minister has been the reality for months now for unemployed workers in the energy sector. Landon Patrician was at Medicine Hat College Career Fair and says finding a job has been frustrating.
I couldn't even get a job at like a Jiffy Lube because they see that oil field background and then they figure, well, as soon as things pick up, you're just gone.
And the economic downturn is being felt here at the Medicine Hat College Career Fair as well. In any given year, there's up to 60 exhibitors. This year, that number's just over 40. Energy companies normally see about 7 to 8 exhibitors. This year, there's none. But the news isn't all bad. There are some sectors that are hiring: healthcare, security, policing, as well as financial services. The RCMP is hiring 3,000 positions in the next 3 years, and the finance minister's pledge to maintain frontline government workers is also good news for job seekers. Shelley Dreffs has some advice to those struggling to find work.
Try to stay positive and making sure that they have a good support system out there, and to definitely seek out help because there's lots of different helping agencies in the community.
And Patrician is taking that advice to heart.
There's got to be something out there. I mean, it's just whether or not when something opens up or who's willing to give a guy a shot.
The finance minister did say Alberta is taking on the added debt to build roads, schools, and hospitals, something that could help unemployed workers who are just hanging on. It was a packed house Tuesday night at the Cypress Center as farmers and ranchers turned up for an information session on Bill 6. Some who came out say the session gave them a sense of relief, knowing that their families would be exempt when it came to WCB premiums and occupational health and safety. Others, not so convinced. The legislation is still complete, and that has many ranchers and farmers worried. But one local stakeholder says the new information has put his mind at ease.
This was great information. I mean, from people that have done their homework, and it's good to see a firm like this taking the interest to look after landowners' interests.
The Medicine Hat Regional Hospital is getting a new ventilation machine, all thanks to a local company. CF Industries donated $45,000 for the new equipment. The BiPAP machine is used for patients who need help with oxygenation or ventilation. The department currently has 2 machines. Respiratory therapist Kelly Garland says having a third one will be a big help as the hospital is seeing more patients.
It's a bridge to get the patient through a crisis so they don't have to have a tube inserted in their airway and be committed to full life support.
Over the past 8 years, CF Industries has donated more than $175,000 worth of equipment to the regional hospital. Well, it can be painful for some older animals suffering from arthritis to get the exercise they need. But a new addition to the Cypress View Vet Clinic is changing all that. Alicia Drose has more on the tool that's making running and walking easier for our 4-legged friends.
Stewie is almost 11 years old. He suffers from arthritis and is overweight. He's been working with registered veterinary technologist Melody Hubick for the past year and has just recently started a new treatment, working out in a water treadmill.
With different levels of water, there's less weight on the animal's joints. So if an animal has arthritic conditions, then it causes them pain. What the water is doing is taking that weight off so they can move a little bit better. And as they're moving better, they're using their joints, which also increases healing and decreases pain.
The water treadmill is a recent addition to the Cypress View Veterinary Clinic. It's only been here for a month, and it's the first one in southeast Alberta. Stewie's owner, Dorothy Kerpeway, says she was intrigued with the idea.
I thought it sounded very innovative, and the whole idea of the water, of course, you know, with taking the weight off and allows them to, I think, accomplish more with the dogs.
Hubick says Stewie's one of a dozen dogs currently using the treatment at the clinic.
We can use it for things like patients who have arthritis and recovering from surgery, and we can also use it for weight loss programs and conditioning of athletic dogs.
The water is heated to about 90 degrees to keep the animals comfortable. And while Stewie has only used the treadmill a couple of times, Kerpeway says she's already noticed an improvement.
He definitely seems more mobile. He still is on some pain medication daily to help him as well. But as far as the mobility, he definitely is more mobile than he used to be.
Currently, it's only dogs that are using the treadmill, but Hubick says that the treatment would work much the same way for cats. And because the water fills from the bottom, it helps even animals who are scared of water feel more comfortable. Alicia Drose, Chat News.
All right, please do stay tuned. When we come back, we'll have a look at some of the news making headlines across Canada this week. Here are a few national stories making headlines this week. One says he is tortured by grief, while the other is just trying to find the strength to keep going. Those are just some of the emotional statements delivered in an Ontario courtroom this week at the sentencing hearing for Marco Muzo. Muzo has pleaded guilty to 4 counts of impaired driving for killing 4 members of the Neville Lake family. He spoke publicly for the first time, but the parents of the children who died stormed out of the courtroom, not wanting to hear what he had to say. The Crown is asking for a 10 to 12-year sentence. Sentencing is scheduled for March the 29th. The federal court judge struck down restrictions on who can grow medicinal marijuana for their own use. The restrictions meant people who used marijuana for medical reasons had to buy from licensed producers. The judge ruled these restrictions infringed on a patient's charter rights, so he's giving Ottawa 6 months to come up with new rules. The judge stressed that this only impacts medicinal marijuana users and not those who smoke pot recreationally. The federal justice minister hopes to have draft legislation on medically assisted dying ready within a couple of weeks. The minister hopes the bill will strike a balance between the autonomy of individuals while still protecting the most vulnerable. The legislation is in response to a report by a special parliamentary committee. The report has 21 recommendations. The committee thinks those enduring intolerable suffering should be given the right to die through medical help. It also suggests those suffering from conditions like dementia be given the option to make advanced requests. Well, Edmonton's cybercrimes unit has helped bust an online dating scam. 2 people have been arrested and charged in connection to the scam, targeting men in Western Canada, defrauding them often of thousands of dollars. Vinesh Pratap has more.
This was an investigation that went beyond city limits and included work by both the Calgary and Vancouver police services. Now, it's alleged that there are multiple male victims from across Western Canada and that the complainants in Edmonton first came forward to city police, and it was city police that initiated the investigation. It's alleged that the victims have been defrauded tens of thousands of dollars. Now, 2 men are facing fraud charges. The men are from Calgary. They have been identified as 42-year-old Murad Atour and 36-year-old Saeed Titi. Now, 8 victims have been identified so far in Alberta, 4 from Calgary and 4 from here in Edmonton. And police are releasing the images of the accused because they believe there are additional victims out there.
We want to encourage anyone else that may have had similar experience or come in contact with Mr. Atour or Mr. Titi to contact either the Edmonton Police, Calgary Police, or the Vancouver Police Department about this matter. We understand that this might be a difficult decision for some victims, as it is a discreet lifestyle that some victim might have. They do not wish their family to know about this. However, due to the seriousness of the allegation, we are asking the help of the victims to please come forward and speak with us.
Now, because the individuals have been arrested in Calgary, they will make their court appearance in Calgary as well. Vinesh Pratap, Global News.
Well, that is all the time we have this week. Enjoy your weekend, and thank you for watching, everyone.